everybody's having a good time this morning. It is good to see everybody once again. I changed the place. We are in Cats and Dogs Coffee Shop. And so I wanted to talk to you about the seated meditations and give you a little bit more of a technical understanding of what's going on and why we do things the way we do, because it's very important. Because if you get, when you set things right the way you want them to, you'll probably want to share it with everyone else. And so I'm going to give you a bit of a little bit more detail so that you can actually have something, not only your own experience, but a little bit more of a technical wisdom about what's really going on, okay? What's happening, first off, is when you're going into the beginning, when we do on the first video, when you're going into the beginning and you're just putting your hands down and you're putting your eyes straight forward, and you're just focusing on relaxing, and you're not really trying to control anything. It's extremely important in meditation. It's what I would call true meditation. Anything else I would call focusing. It would be called focusing because you would be focusing on something. This type of meditation actually takes you to the in-between aspects of focusing and not focusing. The Buddha talked about it a lot when he talked about, reaching the middle path, being a part of the middle path. And that's really, really, really important for you to understand that the middle path means the middle path in everything. The middle path between thought and no thinking. The middle path between emotions and no emotions. The middle path in between being still and movement. The middle path between physical and non-physical. To understand it in all hemispheres within the ego. Because that's what we're dealing with. Ego is really what we're using to define things. Because you need ego to define things. You know what I'm saying? That's the reason why we call that. We call this white and call this shirt black. We call this brown or we call that wood. That was ego's job. But when you base your life solely on on what you see and what your senses are picking up, you miss a major part of what's going on. And the subconscious aspect is the ruler, or should I say not the ruler, but I should say the middle ground between before manifesting and ego, being fully into ego, being fully into here. And in this practice, as you slow down and as you relax, you get more and more into merging the consciousness and the subconsciousness in order so that you can look before the I became an emotional tie. It became emotionally tied into physical incarnation. And so therefore, when you're doing this practice, the reason why we don't close our eyes is you don't want to close your eyes because you still want the mind to be able to pick up all the different signals and everything like that. You still want the ears to be able to hear everything. You still want the nose and the mouth, to be able to smell things. But you do not want to be attached to those things. You know what I'm saying? But you don't want to try not to detach. And you don't want to try to be attached. You just want to be. And the more you learn about just being and sitting still, all of a sudden the subconscious, all of a sudden you find yourself going into the subconscious realm, and that stillness starts to replace the attachment that you have here. And once you have that stillness, and that stillness is here, then the mind, the emotions, and the physical body start working more closely in harmony. And that's just by sitting still. By just sitting still, having the right points connected, tongue to the roof of the mouth, which usually naturally occurs for people when they're doing this type of practice. Breathing starts to deepen naturally as you get more relaxed. Your eyes relax, they're not so bugged out, they start to relax, and your eyes relax. And they really, really relax into, this really nice kind of like stare. Though you're not trying to stare, it doesn't matter whether your eyes blink, but all of a sudden when they relax enough in the harmony within the eyes, the senses come together, then all of a sudden you can sense a whole lot more. A whole lot more. You end up being able to hear further than you've ever heard before. And the reality is that you can hear further already, but you can't consciously pick it up because your mind is so scattered. And your emotions help to scatter the mind even more so. Well, what happens is when you're doing this practice, all of a sudden everything starts working in conjunction. It becomes an orchestra. And so you orchestrate. And once you orchestrate your senses together, there is a greater understanding and a greater ability to see further, to see more subtly, to hear further, to hear more subtly, to smell, to speak, to feel in more subtle realms that you normally would be capable of doing, because the factor is that your mind and your emotions and your physical body are together. They're together and they're closer to oneness. Okay? And so then we go to the physical part of doing the chi, where it was the second part, where we're talking about, getting your chi up and being able to feel the invisible energy, starting to, the invisible awareness actually coming about and feeling the energy pouring from your hands. Well, that's making the most internal marriage between the mind, the emotions, and the physical body, becoming aware of that togetherness, which is an energy, and being aware of it here on this plane, consciously aware of it on this plane. That's why you can start feeling. You're like, oh my goodness, I can feel this energy pouring from my hands. Just like in yoga, they talk about the energy that when we meditate, you feel energy coming up and through the top of your head. It is not, and this is the huge mistake that many yogis, many gurus make, and many master teachers make when they talk to you about this. It is not that you are creating or that you are moving the energy. It's the fact that the energy is already there. You just become aware of it. And you can only focus on it in the beginning, coming out at one point in the body at a time. So therefore it seems as if you are moving energy. But the energy cannot be created. It is already there. Just like it is not moved, because it's always there. And so therefore this is where the huge mistakes where guru and teachers make the mistake, because now you're getting trapped in ego again. Ego's making you believe you created it. Ego's making you believe that you're moving it. But the reality of it is neither of those are happening. And that's why there are very few people who actually reach the other levels, the other skill levels higher than that, because they stop there because they think they're doing it. When the reality is that it's always been there. And it never will not be there. The only reason why you think that you're moving is because you can only concentrate, become aware of one point at a time in the mind. And so therefore you think you're moving it, but that is not true. You know what I'm saying? Just like when you feel different sensations, like you may be doing your chi, you may feel an electrical sensation, you may feel a cold sensation, you feel pores of heat sensation. Those are points of awareness that are already there within the physical realm. They belong to different aspects of awareness depending on how your mind changes the way it perceives in certain alignments. And so therefore, certain feelings crop up. But it does not mean you created that feeling. It does not mean you created the heat. It means you became aware of only the heat. You became aware of only the cold chi, or the heat chi, or the electrical chi, or the grounded chi. It is not that you created anything. It's the fact that it was already there, and you have become aware of it. And I think that's extremely important for you to understand, because therefore, you do not get trapped in the ego again, which will stunt your growth. You will stop growing. Okay? Alright, you'll end up staying within this matrix field, believing that you're creating this and you're moving this, when that is not the truth. It's not the truth at all. Okay, and it is another trap. No matter how many gifts you get from that skill, it is a trap, and it will stop you from growing and going on to the next levels. Okay, and that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make sure that you don't get trapped, and that you don't, lose your way as you're trying to ascend in your transcendental evolution. Okay? So make sure that when you're doing these movements and stuff like that, you understand that the energy is always there. You're just becoming aware of it, and you're only becoming aware of it in certain parts, so you are not creating it, and you are not moving it. You're just only able to focus on one part at a time. That's extremely important. To understand that you're bringing your most inner aspect of stillness, the subconscious and the merger of the conscious together, and that they are actually, because you can feel chi, they're actually becoming aware on this aspect. That's what chi is. Chi is the subconscious and the consciousness awareness becoming one, and that stillness has a physical manifestation, which is chi, which is another part of the awareness actually upon this plane. Okay? The physical, how it comes through the most dense part of the body, most dense part of the field. And I'm going to do another video, but I'm going to stop this right here, because that's a lot of information, and you'll need to go back and probably rewind again and again and again to understand what I'm talking about. If anyone has any questions on that, please do not hesitate to write it in the columns and on the wall within the video, and or to call me or to email me, which is fine. Thank you very much.